Hello, welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. So, today we're going to be discussing the news about Iman Shumpert and Teyana Taylor's divorce settlement. Let me give you a brief rundown. Teyana details the demise of their marriage in court documents, accusing Iman of being jealous of her fame and feeling insecure about being good enough for her, despite earning $48 million from basketball. And now, after a very public battle, Iman has been ordered to pay a seven-figure payout plus 8K per month in child support. Before I give you more of the details about this story, let me introduce you to our powerful queens. Today, we have the one and only Jade Harrell, educator and social entrepreneur. We are also joined by the amazing Constance Carter, wealth activist, and the amazing Tiara Williams, actress, producer, and entrepreneur. Hello, queens.
Hello.
Right.
I don't think you did. You say your name?
Myself. I'm Linda E, presenter, actress, and model. So, hi. But I'll do it. I'm just so excited to get into this topic because it's very, very juicy. I don't know if you guys have seen the whole Iman and Teyana. Now, it's a very messy situation because these two at one point were seen as the most, sexiest couple alive. They had, reality TV shows, but things started to go downhill. Now, Teyana alleges that Iman cheated before, during, and after the separation. She also claims that he has withdrawn $4 million from their joint account, leaving her about $200,000. She has talked about how cruel his treatment has been, with willful infliction of pain, bodily and mentally, and just being very petty and jealous, even getting annoyed at her in public when photographers would want to, take a picture of her instead of him, kind of thing. What are your thoughts on this whole situation, Jade? I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Well, first off, I'm not really familiar with their relationship. I mean, I'm learning a lot today about Teyana Taylor and Iman. I never watched their show. I usually don't pay a lot of attention to entertainment news. And I do know that she's a singer. I know that when I was advocating to get a Chinese-owned nail salon shut down in Brooklyn, New York, when the staff savagely beat 3 Black women, we organized to shut that down. And Teyana Taylor was very, very generous to the victims, and she gave them free makeovers and spent some time with them and helped to counsel them. So I know her from doing good work like that. I know she's an artist. In terms of their relationship, for me, this is why I was raised not to, speak publicly or to divulge too much information personally, especially not about relationships. But unfortunately, these are the types of things that happen when you live out your relationship and your personal business within the public eye. People have an opinion about it. It goes viral and it becomes a topic of conversation when it's really between them and, the two divorcing parties and their children and their families. So I don't really have much of an opinion on the situation, other than I hope that they all heal and do what's in the best interest of themselves and definitely for their daughters.
I completely agree about the whole healing situation. Now, interesting you mentioned about being private, because initially when Teyana filed, she tried to keep it private by only using their initials. And then Iman did his whole thing and put their full names out there, which is why everything has become public. Tiara, I'm going to come to you. Do you think he has done that intentionally to kind of make the situation worse? What are your whole thoughts on everything that's happening?
Oh, yes. I think that Iman definitely was trying to get back at her. I think there's something to be said about what you just said, right? Where a woman goes and privately says, we could just do this. I respect our family. I respect what we've built together. And he's like, no, I want everybody to know what's going on, and puts it literally out into the media. So, and then not only does he do that, he also, publicly comes out and says all these different things about her. keeps he says all these things about her publicly, and really she wasn't responding to any of that. So I think he definitely is trying to get back at her. It feels like revenge, it feels like pettiness, it feels like some like a bitter man who's mad that he couldn't have what she had, and so he wanted to take her down, trying to take her money, which, whatever. But I just feel like it's coming from a place of bitterness more than anything else.
And I think I agree, because I think the way he's gone about things just doesn't seem, it just seems like he's maybe hurt. Constance, I want to actually ask you a similar question. Do you think he has done this intentionally? Do you think maybe it's coming from a place where he is hurt about, the demise of their marriage? Do you think it's innocent, or do you think it's him being vindictive?
I think it's very intentional. Let me tell you something. Jealousy can be as cruel or as cold as the grave. And I remember, and I don't follow them much, but I did see, I kind of follow the blogs a little bit. And I remember when it first came out, and she was like, when they were saying things, she was like, this is my best friend. This is what you're not going to do. You're not going to talk bad about us. You're not going to do. Let me set the record straight. I have seen her go out and do that. I have seen her go out and say that. And so, and then it was intentional by him to put their business out in the streets. And, bitter boys, they can cause problems, especially if he thinks he's a superstar. And I think that's the problem, is he wanted to be the superstar. And the reality is, he married a superstar, and the problem is, there's nothing that she could have done to change anything. She is who she is. He just didn't know who he married, and unfortunately, he just wanted to be the diva in the family.
1 trillion%. Interesting you say he doesn't know who he married, because before them two got together, she was already kind of known. She'd been on Sweet 16, she'd been signed to Pharrell, in terms of, her music hadn't really come out there. Look at her body, she's just banging. But do you think that he married her hoping that him and his, basketball career would be enough, and she would perhaps stop being as ambitious and just kind of stay in her lane? I'm going to stay with you, Constance, for this one.
Yeah, the problem with marrying boss women is, they are who they are. There's nothing that you can do to contain them. They are going to be who they're going to be. And if that was the case, I don't know. I wasn't involved in their pillow talking. However, I think that, he just didn't, I think he just didn't realize the superstar that he married. And sometimes men can think that, I'm going to, because men need to marry, men marry lower, and women, we always try to marry higher. And so he ended up marrying higher. And then that caused, I think, some insecurities within him, just from the outside looking in. Again, I don't know him personally, but that's what tends to happen, right? When a man marries a woman who is a little bit above their caliber, then when they go cheat, they never cheat up. Y'all know that. That's the rule of thumb for men. Men never cheat up. They always, personal experience, always cheat down. And that's just what happens. And so that is a way that they can kind of maintain the control that they have to make them feel good about themselves, especially when they're dealing with women who, are bosses in that way.
Now, Tiara, a female boss, I need to come to you personally. Have you ever experienced something like this, where you've been in a situation where you've dated someone and they've been clearly jealous of your ambition, and kind of how have you navigated that, if you have been in that situation?
Yes, yes, and yes. I definitely have been in a situation where I've dated someone and felt like, because we were locked in a certain way, that I had to kind of like consider them in everything that I did, right? I was like, okay, I want to, I would go out into the world and be myself and come back home and be like, guess what happened today? I bumped into blah, blah, blah. And they said I could have an opportunity to do da, da, da. And he just didn't have that kind of personality, right? He wasn't that, he couldn't go out and do what I did. And actually I find myself, if truth be told, those are the kind of men that I generally run into. Men who are like, okay, or they feel like they can do the things that I do. They can do the things that I do the way I do it. It's like, if I, when I sold a screenplay, I was like, I was dating this guy and he was like, well, I want to write books and write screenplays too. And so he went and tried it. He really did. And it just didn't work the same way. And so I find sometimes when I get in these situations with people, and I'm dealing with different, maybe celebrities, or working with different people, like the men that I date want to do that secretly. So I have to be careful about things like that. But yes, to answer your question, I have been in that situation, and I could get into some stories, baby, but I'm gonna just leave it there. Yes, this has happened to me.
No, it's crazy because something similar happened to me. My very first boyfriend, we were both cool, everything was going well, and then I started, doing a couple of things, and it slowly started dawning upon me that he was trying to compete. And at that point, I left the relationship. And I think that's my question to you, Jade. Looking at the situation with Iman and Teyana, as a woman, if you notice that a man is seeming to become petty and jealous, do you stay, try and make it work, or do you just bounce and be like, you know what, I haven't got time for this? How would you play it? What's the best way to play it?
Yeah, so for me, my bullshit meter is very, very low. So I have a very low tolerance for that. So I would just be out. Me and petty men, catty men, we just do not, just wouldn't work or get along. And then I also experienced that as insecurity and control, which is totally not sexy. So if a man feels that he needs to compete with a woman, that's not my man. But some women like insecure men. That's just not my thing. But then also, oftentimes you can be with someone and they don't start to show you their jealousies or their true colors unless they are triggered in a particular way, or you meet a certain level of success. And then you can find that out after the fact, like after children are in the picture, after businesses and homes and mortgages and things are in the picture. So I guess it just really depends on the person. But to any women out there who are experiencing any form of manipulation or gaslighting or narcissistic abuse, I say get out as soon as you can.
100%. And I love what you said. People don't always show you their true colors, because when you're in a boyfriend girlfriend kind of partner relationship, it's easier to walk away than when you're in a marriage with two kids. I don't think this situation or this decision was made lightly for either one of them. And it's sad, it's really, really sad. And I like one of the comments that I saw in here saying that they've kind of switched roles. And big shout out to everyone who's joined us today. And that Iman gives off Jada Pinkett vibes.
Yeah. I don't know about that. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. I'm like,
do you agree about the Jada Pinkett vibes, Tiara?
Is he a drama queen? Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't know. I'm silent.
I think he gives off Jada Pinkett Smith vibes. Like, he doesn't respect the union of marriage, but they're not married, are they?
Oh, okay. I understand what he's saying. He's saying that, like, because he is public about their personal business, because Jada is very public, so much as to write a book about how she feels about Will and how she resents Will in all of the ways. That's what I got from the book that I read of hers. But I could see that. I don't know if it's to that extent because they haven't had a chance to live 30 years together, like, so it's a different level, but I could see where you're going with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not too sure. But once again, shout out to everyone who is tuned in. You are with the Fly Nubian Queens. Don't forget to text 87948 to receive updates, and that is texting the word Queen, so QUEENS to 87948 for all our updates. We are on Spotify now as well, and we are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are someone who wants to level up, handle their business, handle their money, then definitely check out flynubianmoney.com. We have resources, we have courses, we have so much available to you. Now, talking about money and resources, this settlement, right? 7 figures plus the 8K. Teyana gets to keep one of their houses, someone keeps her condo based on their net worth. So I did a little research, and Iman's net worth, we are talking about Iman Shumpert and Teyana Taylor. His is valued between 16 to sometimes 35 million, and she's about 5 million. Do you think this settlement is fair? Constance, I'm going to go to you.
I mean, considering their net worth, I tell you what, though, I wish I had Teyana's lawyer when I got a divorce, because she definitely got what she deserved. And so, I mean, if you base it upon, your net worth, were they in California?
I don't know. That's a great question.
So just it all depends on where you are, I guess, in the United States. But if they're agreeable to it, like, who are we to judge, like, who got what? I think it's dope. I think she had an amazing attorney. But this is a lesson to people, because I just went through a really tumultuous divorce. I didn't have proper representation. I didn't do things the right way, which I wish I would have done differently totally when I got my divorce. Because I thought, hey, I've never been divorced before, but we are amicable and we're cool. So, let's just put it all on the table. This is what we make. And he went and got an attorney who was like, oh, we see her on the internet and she got money and we gonna treat her like she's Dr. Motherfucking Dre. So, but I just think that it's extremely important that when you get proper representation, because that is like one of the things that I definitely did not do correctly when I went through my divorce. You gotta have a good ass lawyer. Pay the money.
And thank you for sharing your personal experience. What other advice would you give, or what other legal steps can people take to protect their finances during things like a divorce?
You know what? Some of my boss women friends were, because okay, for my particular situation, I was the breadwinner. So I had been with my ex since I was 15 years old. So basically, we pretty much kind of grew up together, and we had 4 children. And I started this business, and he was the at home dad. I mean, he wasn't like staying home watching kids, but he was the one that was taking them to school and picking them up and all that stuff. So he certainly, and I believe that he certainly deserved to get something. I just believe that you don't have to, somebody doesn't have to lose in order for somebody else to win, right? It could be a win-win. One of the things that my boss friends told me when I was going through it, they were like, girl, he gonna take you to the cleaners. And I was like, no, we're pretty amicable. And they were like, girl, stay a little bit longer, get your stuff in order, move some things around. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, we ain't even got it like that. I would have probably done some of that had I foresaw different things, because I think when you go through that, the person that you marry is not the person that you divorce, number one. Mm-hmm. So Iman and Teyana probably are not the same people that they were when they got married. The other thing is keeping people out your business, right? Because for me, people on the outside looking in, they saw me and they're like, oh, she got money. And oh, you should go for this, and you should go for that, and you should. Oh, she gonna give you this. Oh shit, she gonna give me 5,000 a month. Take 10,000. It was stuff like that. And so when you have third parties involved, then people they start to listen to other people. So I think keep people out your business, number one, but definitely get your stuff in order if you decide that this is the route that you want to take. Kind of evaluate all of the things before you exit, and have a proper exit strategy. I just want to be done immediately. I didn't think about all those things, and I certainly would definitely do that again.
Thank you, Constance. I was just seeing a comment that says, hold up, if she's a superstar like you all say, why does she need his money? Tiara,
can I answer that question? Because I saw that and I was like, ugh. So what we have to understand is they were married for quite some time. I can't remember if it's like 7 years or so, 5 to 7 years, somewhere in between there, right? So together they did reality shows, they had businesses together, they had an estate together, a joint estate. So having that joint estate, they made money together. So what we see is a nice split of what they had together. He took the condo and some properties in Decatur and Atlanta. She took the house and the Maybach and whatever, and then he gave her a 7-figure settlement, whatever that is. Whatever that one-time 7-figure settlement. I think I saw something that said Iman spends $14,000 a month in takeout. 8K, 8K, 8K for 8K for your kids. I don't think that's too much. And I mean, let's talk about if Teyana is the primary custodian of is the parent who is taking care of the children full time. Like if I mean, I'm not sure what how they're handling child care and all of that, but if she is the primary custodian of the kids, I think that he should pay child support. And I think even that they kind of figured out, where like Teyana will pay the child insurance, the insurance, and he'll pay for the other things. Insurance is expensive, period. So I think that just breaking up those assets and breaking bread equally, I think they did a good job with that. I have a question for Constance, if I can, Linda. So, Constance, you said something about, you shared obviously your experience being married. Do you think that couples should talk about post prenups and postnups and all of the things while they're still happy, like while they're still at the beginning of their relationship? And actually, Linda, I would love for you to piggyback off this. I'm not running the show or anything, but I would love for you to piggyback because I know you just got married. And so I want to know if these are questions that you ask. And Constance, do you feel like this is something that you should talk about while you're still in love and have feelings of like, this is the love of my life? How do you feel about that?
I'll say first of all, one of the things and I told my kids this when they were when I was still married, and I think we were okay. I would tell my kids, wait until you're a little bit older before you get married. You know, like I said, we were 15 when we got together. I was 22 when I got married. So first of all, I would not recommend anyone getting married that young. But at that stage, like we ain't had nothing. I mean, I was always the one that made a little bit more money, but we didn't really have anything. And so by the time we had gotten some things, we're 10 years in. How do you have a conversation about post-nup at that point? However, I would say, in this day and time, with all of the information out there, I think there should be conversations around that. Certainly, if I were to ever think about going down that road again, before, 100%. My thing is this, I got 4 kids at this point, and whatever I have, it goes to them. So at this point, I'm damn near 50. I'm 48 years old. So, whatever you have, you should have accumulated by now. Your stuff go to your kids, my stuff go to my kids. And those are the conversations that I think that we need to have as mature adults. When you're young, when you really don't got nothing, it's really kind of hard to, gauge, what's going to happen. Who knows? Who knew? And for me, I was like, one of the mistakes I made is, it's not a mistake because you should do this. When we were married, I made him feel like he was 100%, like 50%, like he did half of the work, in terms of financial, like this is us. And so even though I was the one going to work every day and he didn't contribute in any way financially, but I made him feel important, like this is ours, as I should have as a wife, right? But when we were getting a divorce, he really believed that. Like I put my blood, sweat, and tears into the finance, and it wasn't that. Like he was really convinced. And so I think you should do that, but it's also a little bit of for me it was a little bit of delusional behavior, because it was like, no, and let's be fair. Like, again, I don't got to lose for you to win. Let's try to figure out how we can do this amicably, and let's take the path of least resistance. And I believe that you should do that, especially when you have children. But everybody is not mature enough to kind of go through the process to be amicable, and that's the unfortunate part. And so then they cause, they end up hating the spouse more than they love the children, and that's the unfortunate part too. You got to look at that.
Do you know what? It's so crazy that you say that, because I feel like, obviously I'm a newlywed, so I'm very much like, oh my God, I'm in love. But for us, we never talked about prenups and postnups. I kind of don't completely believe in them. I know it's gonna sound really weird, but I definitely believe in looking after yourself financially and, making sure you have certain things set in place. But I think the issue with prenuptial agreements, to me, it looks like you are preparing for the worst. And with me and my husband, our net worth aren't currently at $1 million. So it wasn't really something that we came to think, okay, your finances, we're just like, look, we're here together. Let's build together. We've divided up our bills and things in a way that I like, that I think is fair. And a prenuptial agreement is something that I don't think either of us would have felt comfortable stepping into. And we both have said we don't believe in divorce, so we are here till the wheels fall off. But obviously, when you have assets and certain amounts of money, that's basically something that's not in my tax bracket to worry about at this moment in time. So for me, a prenuptial agreement, for me and my husband, it wasn't really a thing. And I hope, that as we build, we don't get petty, we don't get jealous, we keep building together, and we die husband and wife,
I mean, that's why people get married. That's why, I think that's when you get on your, that's what it is, right? That's what, yeah.
But shout out to everyone who's in the room right now. I'm seeing these comments are going wild. Jade, I'm going to actually come to you with regards to one of the comments that I've seen in here with regards to, when it's a woman, you take him to the cleaners when it comes to divorce settlements. When it's a man, it's not fair. What are your thoughts on that?
Listen, I think that male fragility needs to make up its mind. Do y'all want to be a provider and a protector, or do you want to be a freeloader? Do you want to be a kept man? Either way, just be honest about it, but you can't have both, right? You can't, as the old folks say, you can't serve two masters, right? So I'm seeing that Teyana is being dragged and men are feeling a particular way because she's getting this big settlement, but isn't her husband supposed to be the provider and protector? Like, isn't that how that's supposed to work? So listen, it's just hilarious. I was low-key getting triggered in the comments, so I exited. I relieved them of my presence for now. But the question in the chat for the men in the chat is like, do you want to be a provider or protector, or do you want to be a kept man? I need all the men in the chat right now to put if they want to be a provider and protector or a kept man. Either one, you can't be both. So that's my response to your question.
You know what? I have another question for the chat as well. Do you believe in prenuptial agreements? So those of you are married, those of you who are planning to get married, want to get married, do you believe a prenuptial agreement is healthy for a marriage? In the meantime, though, do not forget, text the word Queens, Queens, to 87948 to receive all the updates about Fly Nubian Money. And we are now on Spotify as well as every other place you listen to podcasts. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And to get your money up, to get your mindset up, visit our website, flynubianmoney.com, for resources, courses, and all the good stuff. If you're joining us, hello. We are discussing this interesting situation between Iman Shumpert and Teyana Taylor with their divorce settlement, and whether it's fair, whether it's not fair, but also what it looks like to be in a relationship where someone is, potentially jealous of your success, and what that looks like for us as women, but also, men as well. I have a question stemmed off their timeline. Now, I believe they got together 2011, 2013. 2013 is when they got together. And then they had their first child. Well, no, they were announced to be engaged in 2015 November. And they had their first child, the beautiful Junie, in December 2016. And she is just so sweet. She literally looks like Teyana Taylor's twin. And then they had the second child. Well, they revealed they were married September 2016. And then they had another child. They've done reality TV shows. And it wasn't until 2023 that the divorce came about. Do you think that at the point where this divorce came through, do you think it was more than just Iman's potential jealousy? Because there have been rumors of obviously infidelities and even sexual preferences. Do you think there's more to this than we know? And really and truly, do you think it's even our business, Tiara?
There's always more than we know, right? Especially when it comes to situations. None of us were there. We can only really speculate based on what they have allowed us to see. But I feel like what's interesting about the internet is that somebody can really learn much more. People go to prison for life for information that was pulled from social media. So it's more information. You can find out more information because people are so willing to share. It was Teyana Taylor and Iman. They didn't say they have a little open situation. They got on the Breakfast Club and was like, alluded to that sometimes they bring girls in and all of these things. And I think Teyana was trying to be, she dated an NBA player. So maybe she was trying to I don't know what her sexual preferences are. That's not my business, but maybe be the ideal wife that's like, I'll roll with you. I know that you have temptations, you have women. So, I mean, I can be open to this. I feel like it brings destruction in the end when there's too much going on and there's too many people involved in your personal life. But to answer your question, even though it's not our business, we've been told. Literally, Teyana didn't want to tell us, but Iman wanted to tell us. So when people put their business, you can't help to speculate. But in terms of speculating, I think on this show in particular, we look for things that we can extract, lessons that we can learn. Don't ever have an open relationship. Check. Don't ever date an NBA player. Check. Don't ever, like, don't they when men get petty and they get manipulative and angry and whatever the things that, Iman was feeling, we can look and say, okay, that's what that looks like. So we can extract lessons. It's all about the lessons for me, so that's what I have to say about that.
Thanks, Ciara. Now, Jade, I want to come to you, especially as an educator. In this situation, there were 4 children. There are 2 children involved. Do you think the way they have done this is going to be healthy for their children? And do you think the finances are actually going to be enough to care for things like their education and their, basic needs?
Yeah, thanks for this question, because we oftentimes forget to center children that are supposed to be at the center of the family. And so I will say that this is extremely destructive, very, very distracting. They have to deal with the threat of their peers bringing this up, potentially in their learning environments or their school environments, extracurricular activities. And it's just really, really harmful and dangerous for them in their socio-emotional development. So unfortunately, this information leaked. It should have remained private, according to what you all are saying. Teyana Taylor wanted to keep it private. Her ex-husband leaked it, which in my opinion was very petty, and it was very, very cruel, especially for the children. They have to grow up with this, and this stuff is going to be on the internet forever. In terms of the money, the settlement and it being enough to take care of them, that's if they live within their means, and if both parents eventually are able to co-parent for the sake of the benefit of the children and are putting money away or helping to invest money so that their children will be sustained in terms of generational wealth. So I pray that is actually what's going to happen. But hey, we don't know. But I do know that this is very, very damaging for kids that just want to be in their social groups. They want to learn. They want to grow up. They're coming into figuring out who they are. And now they're in a situation where the world or the media and people are kind of telling them who they are based off of their parents' choices and this discourse about their parents.
Thanks, Jade. Now, I've just seen a comment that says, stop pillow talking about nonsense and ask the right questions about who you choose to marry, especially if you're planning to have children with them before those things happen. Tybee, thank you for that comment. I do think it's difficult to ask every single question that exists before you get into a situation. There's so much, do you know what I mean? There's only so much you can vet a person. There's only so much you can learn about a person before committing, and then things can change. I obviously don't know these 2 personally, but their relationship seemed quite healthy at the beginning, and at some point things change. So I don't think it's as simple as vetting, and it's so easy to say, oh, what would you do in this situation? And you can give any answer you want, but when the situation arises, things change. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it's as simple as that. But Constance, I do want to come back to you, especially with regards to your recent divorce, if you don't mind me asking. When it came to looking after the children and the finances for the children, was that something that was easy to kind of dictate and decide, or did it become just straight, no, you deal with all of it, you're the bread maker, I don't want to really be involved or help?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of what happened. I've always been the breadwinner. So I spent a lot of time, working, hustling, and just kind of trusting that all was well at home. And then, when I decided that, it's not what I want to do anymore, then it was like, okay. One of the things that I never thought in a million years was that he would become an absentee father because he was there in their formative years. I never thought that. He was the one who picked him up from school, took him to soccer, took him to basketball, took him to tutoring. He was that guy. When we went to parent-teacher conferences and they all went to the same school, the whole family went to parent-teacher conferences. And so to go from just nothing. And then, it was like, okay, who was this person I was laying next to for all these years? Because then, when we talked about some of the properties, and I was like, okay, this is, I'd like to put this stuff in a trust for the kids. And he was like, no, I won't mine. I was like, what? my whole life is about generational wealth. Haven't you been listening? And it's just like, no. And I don't know if it was him or if it was the people that were around him. You know what I mean? So it was, again, it was unfortunate because when I tell you, the last thing I thought was that he was going to be absent from the children. That shocked me. A lot of stuff shocked me in that process, but that really shocked me. And it was damaging to the kids, because now my kids say things like, and I'm gonna tell y'all, this is not good, but my daughter will say things like, I'd rather have never had a father than to have had one and then not have one now. To have him in my life before, and now he's no longer in my life. I would just rather not have anybody at all. And so that's very hurtful for to hear my daughter say that, because, he's gone. And, on the outside, from the outside looking in, we look like the Huxtables, right? Everything looked great. And I'm out here, speaking all over the place, like, I designed the life that I always wanted. I ain't even know. So, it is very damaging. And again, I think it has to go back to the maturity level and loving your kids more than you hate the other person, or that, you're upset because the other person no longer wants to be in the marriage, and now everybody else gets punished. And that's a lot of times what a lot of people will do is, they be like, F them kids. And he may not have said that, but the actions showed that. And that's the unfortunate part. So it's just like, really, and here's the thing. I had such a present father, and I make a lot of excuses, and it's not me making excuses for him, really. It's really me trying to soften the blow for them in terms of the disappointment, right? And so and my dad was such a great father. And so, when their dad falls short, I'll be like, what can you really expect him to do? He's here, we're there. And then they say to me, well, what would your dad have done? Right. And I'm like, oh, shoot, because they see what a father is supposed to be or what he's supposed to do. And that is their measure. And I can't even tell him, like, I can't even say no. I'm like, don't worry about what my daddy would do. I try to do that, but it is really difficult, because when I did get married to him, I thought he was more like my father. That's what thought I was choosing. And, again, we were 15, 22. So.
One more question, actually. What kind of advice do you give your children now with regards to finances and divorce and marriage? Because you mentioned, putting properties into a trust for them, etc. What advice do you give to them, and what advice would you give to anyone listening now too?
Here's one of the things that I try to convey to my kids is that, I am, I'm not perfect, but, whatever you see in terms of the lack in me or your father, like, just make sure you do better. We everything that I've done strictly for you. My whole life revolves around you. Every decision I make is, you guys are my why. And so letting them know that you're human, letting them know that mommy's falling short. Mommy tries, but I am not perfect. They really see that. So they see the work, me having to start over on the East Coast. Like, I don't make the money I used to make. I'm not doing bad at all, trust me. But I'm not like where I was before. And so them seeing me having to, to thug it out and get it out of the mud again, like I did when they were young, except for I had help. Now it's just me and them. And so they see that and they appreciate that, So just having those real honest conversations, not bashing the other person, but really saying, listen, we're humans and we all have human experiences. And then, you just got to be the best human that you could be, especially when you have kids. Make sure the things that you see that you don't like, be different.
1000%. And I love that you said you're always about generational wealth. You know what I mean? And passing that on. But then this is a tricky thing, because I've always said, what better way of creating generational wealth than through marriage and children?
100%.
But in a situation where it seems like a lot, not all, but a lot of marriages are not working out. Is there a better way? Is there anything that can be done? Is it down to us and our choices? Teyana, I want to ask you this. Have you ever had to support a friend going through something like this? What can we do as women to kind of safeguard our choices and safeguard our futures?
The whole time I've just been listening, and so many great things were said. I was just sitting over here taking notes, but it made me think about story time, kids. It made me think about my cousin India, who passed away about, I think we lost her a little over a year now. My cousin was a boss chick. She owned businesses. She married a man who came into her business to work. He worked as a dispatcher for the business. I think he was like truck driving for a little while. So he came into the business, and she accepted the children he had as her own. She put them through private school, all of the things, y'all, all of the things. India did all of the things. Um, so they had been together for about 15 to 16 years, and in 2020, I guess the business that she helped him build, where he was doing really well, they found something happened, and he wasn't making the kind of money. So he went to her and said, I want you to put me on your business 50-50. And she said, well, I don't want to do that. And he started to resent her. What ended up happening, guys, is my cousin had just bought him a Maybach. I'm just trying to put some perspective of how well they were living, and how she was taking care of him. My cousin was unalived by this person. Was unalived. He had planned it. He had planned to unalive her. He unalived her, and then he unalived himself. It was national news, and it was the whole thing, right? And so when I think about it, he was just like seeping with jealousy, like it was a jealous rage. And so I often think now, when I look at women wanting to date men, it's like, or women wanting to date men, it's like, do we date down? Do we date up? What do we do? Like, there is no answer to that, because I think money is the root of that. It starts to change people. Constance, you were saying, like, I feel like money changes people. They start looking like, well, what you got, and what you got, and what am I gonna get, and feeling entitled to that. He felt entitled to her business. He felt entitled, so much so that he unalived her. And so I just say to women, there's really no way you can vet. The only thing you can do is start to see the signs, because she saw the red flags. But I think she was just so like, no, no, no. But what happened was, she was staying in a hotel. She had been staying in a hotel for 2 months. So she felt like, this person was dangerous for me. And by the time he was like, no, let's talk about it, come over. So she went to her home, and there he was with two shotguns. Like,
Oh.
you know what I mean? Like, and it was just like, so just to just think about my cousin, who was just like a pure at heart, like a pure, and wanted the best, and wanted her husband, and he just didn't have good intentions for her. So I would say to women, and not to take, because I want to make it just the extreme of what can happen in this situation. It can be a constant situation, or it can be an India situation. So I just want you to see the signs and know to get out. Am I saying that at some point in mine could have like unalived Teyana? No, I don't know their situation, but I know those seeds of jealousy can grow into mighty oaks, and it can become a thing. And so I would just say, ladies, stay woke. Really, really pay attention. Keep your eye on a swivel. Especially if you're a boss chick.
And just to tack on to that, like, one of the things, my family is a very close knit family. My parents aren't together, that they're best friends, my siblings. And so we were all very close, but they were like, we don't want you to move, but you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because you just don't, like, especially with all the things that happened. We're like, and I felt like I was in Twilight Zone, but they were like, we don't know what is capable of happening at this point. We never seen this before, but yeah, you need to go. And that wasn't the reason why I left, but they were, for them, it gave them peace of mind, because of, when you talk about those seeds of jealousy, like what they
Mm-hmm.
can turn into, and you just like, what? I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, there was so many things when I looked up, and I'm like, huh? It was crazy. But you just don't know what people are harboring on the inside. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking everything is great, and no,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, it's a lot.
No,
No.
no. And even though she felt like unsafe, she still was like, this person wouldn't harm me. I feel like he
Mm.
could harm me. Like, when you wake up in the middle of the night, you look over and somebody's over your shoulder going, like, it's time to go. It's time to go. But still, she was like, no, 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 he wouldn't do that.
Right.
So even though he was making threats. So it's just like, had I wished that she didn't go to the house that day and all of the things, but it gives me peace just knowing that, I don't know if there is any peace. I'm paying attention. I am woke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I'm so sorry. Honestly, things like that, you just don't want to. Yeah, I'm just so sorry, honestly. Jade, I do have a question for you though, and it's based kind of off a comment and this conversation. Dating higher, lower, dating up, dating down. In this situation when Iman and Teyana got together, Iman was above her. He was the one making money or more money than her, and the roles can change. Do you think as a woman there is, we should always date above us or we should not? Because if a woman goes for, a wealthy man, they're called gold diggers. If a woman dates a man who is making less than her, she said that she's always looking down on him. What are we learning from this? Like, what can we actually do? What do you think?
I think it's important to date people that don't have a void on the inside.
That part.
Because, yeah, in this situation, this is a man who has a lot of money, and he still, according to what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing in the evidence, has an issue with her success. And so for some people, there's no amount of money that's going to satisfy that void, because there's another spiritual issue, other internal, emotional, socio-emotional, mental issues that are going on within the person. So we should look to date people that are whole and healthy and have a really, really healthy sense of who they are, a sense of purpose, a level of self-esteem, and a person that could be happy and satisfied, right? Some people are just never satisfied, and you can have a lot to be grateful for. Everyone always has something to be grateful and thankful for, but a lot of people who have the most, they feel like they have the least. And so I think those are the things that we need to think about. As a Black person, as a Black woman, I understand the dynamics between, Black men and Black women with pay disparities in certain situations in certain parts of the country, and in certain scenarios, Black women are set up within the system of white supremacy to make a lot of more money and have a lot of opportunities that are withheld from Black men in certain scenarios. Then there are certain scenarios where Black men are in industries such as the entertainment industry, etc., where they are out earning Black women, and also in business and finance and architecture and different things. So I think it depends. And I think that when we put the future of the Black family and nation building at the center, then it's okay to so-called date down if you're a Black woman and you are looking to build a foundation for your family and for yourself. So I guess it just really depends. But again, you can get with a dude and he has everything on the outside. You think like, wow, he has it going on, but on the inside, he's a damn mess. And that's what we really need to be paying attention to, as opposed to bank account numbers and dollars and cents and assets and material wealth.
1000%, 1000%. And if you're someone who, wants to get yourself together, whether it's financially, definitely check out our website, flynubianmoney.com. We have resources and courses and lots of information on there. You can also text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948 to keep up to date with us and our updates. And we are now on Spotify as well, which is very exciting. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. We are talking about the whole situation between Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert, their divorce, what it looks like financially, what impact it has on the kids. Now, I saw a comment that says we are presuming that Iman is jealous. Well, we're not just presuming. Teyana's actually made allegations against him. She says that, he started sending her negative and manipulative text messages when the divorce became public. She says that he discouraged her from pursuing recording and acting opportunities, and yet he would criticize her for not earning the same amount of money as him after childbirth. So these are things that she's saying, and the way he kind of handles the whole situation, I kind of am on her side. I'm kind of believing that he definitely has some things, some voids, as Jade would say. But latching off something you did mention, Jade, you know, when going into the world of dating and marriage and dating someone who is whole, making ourselves whole as well. You know, what advice would you give to people dating that want to make sure that they are in the correct mindset? Because as much as other people can change when money comes, we potentially could be the ones who change when money comes too. You know, so what kind of advice would you give, Jade?
That's a great
Stay
question.
grounded, stay grounded, know who you are, know what your values are, know what your boundaries are, know what your non-negotiables are, and stay true to yourself. Be authentic, speak your mind, speak your piece. You know, maintain those connections with family and friends as long as they are healthy connections. And yeah, it's just really about knowing your values and knowing, you know, what you will deal with and what you won't deal with, and then also not selling out. All money ain't good money, right? And so, you know, people, you know, will pay for a lot of different things that may be out of alignment with who you are and what you represent and who you endeavor to be in the future. So just keep those things in mind and be very, very self-aware. And then also when you make a mistake or, you know, have an experience where there's something that you want to change, something in the past that you've done, just love yourself enough to extend yourself grace and give grace to other people in order to be different and make different choices in the future. I think that we get to come into these relationships and conversations about relationships with a heightened level of self-awareness and just really being rooted in your lane and who you are and feeling good about yourself. And then you'll attract that from someone else, as opposed to looking for someone else to complete you or to pay your bills or to fulfill whatever needs or desires you may or may not have.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And one more comment that I thought I have to say something about: Fly Nubian marriage isn't the aspiration. I think my final question for everyone. I'm going to go through all of you. Tiara, is marriage the aspiration? Is that the goal? Is that the way for us to continue our legacies and generational wealth? Is that the goal? Is that the aspiration?
Yes. I definitely want to be married. I've never been married before, and I would love to have the experience. I would love, ideally, to marry someone who, like Jade said, is whole. I've been in therapy for a very long time. I go as a matter of fact, I'm going today at 4 p.m. Um, that is definitely it, but I don't want it at the cost of, like I said, what may have happened to my cousin India, or some of the horror stories I hear about marrying the wrong person. I'm constantly looking and watching and listening. I don't want to get caught up in the idea of being in love and the idea of marriage. I love the idea of partnership, not to be taken care of, but just like to build something. I love all of that. Everything that marriage represents, I'm in love with. I just don't want to do it with the wrong person. And so I think waiting until I got a little older has been my goal. But the pool got pee in it. It got a little sewage. There was like a little poop that's floating around. So I'm not sure what's gonna happen. So we'll see.
I love it. The thing is, if you are in the pool and you are amazing, there's someone equally amazing in that pool for you as well. That's what I truly believe.
I believe that. I believe that too. I'm just kidding.
Constance, as someone recently divorced, is marriage the aspiration? Would you get married again?
Oh, that is a very good question, because it depends on the day, girl. It depends on the day. Today I want to be bothered with somebody. Tomorrow I may not want to be bothered with nobody. It just all depends. I haven't, because I had never been single. I had been with this person since I was 15. Now we've been separated since 2020, right? So I've been pretty much single. I haven't really dated anybody since then. Like, doesn't mean I haven't been out on dates. I have not been in a relationship since then. It's a lot of men out here in the DMV, y'all. Oh God, single ladies, this is where you want to be. Anyway, but for me, I just don't like anybody. And that's the thing, it's like, I'm not going to settle. I have, just like Jade said, I have a very low tolerance for BS. I just, it's extremely, it's difficult, because then, I think about, and now my kids is almost grown. 3 of my kids are now adults. One just turned 18, one is 16, one is 19, one's 24. So they're all pretty much grown, but I still think, like, okay, this person has to fit inside of this family because, and I would want to fit inside their family, whether their children are 10 or 30, right? Because they're all still a part of the family. So I think about all of these things. Like, I don't just think about me. Mama got to get hers now. It's me time. I don't give a damn about them kids. No, I think about all of that. And so when I'm talking to an individual, I look at all of those things and I may overanalyze. I'd like a partner. Sure. I think that it's really about being ready to receive when it's ready. It'll happen when it needs to happen, being the right person in the right place at the right time. And that's just kind of where I am. I think there has been a block for me because, that smoke, like last year, we just settled on assets, right? And yeah, that was painful too. Last February, we just settled on the assets, and I was like, okay, what do I need to do to get another 100,000 here? This is how it was. It was just like, so thinking about getting into another situation when you just kind of gotten out of something different. When I was like, hell no, not ever, 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 and never and ever again. Now I'm like, okay, it's maybe possible. Because the older people be like, Constance, never say never. And at this point, I'm like, yeah, never. But then I'm like, okay, I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know, but I'm not opposed to it in the way that I was before. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Do I think marriage is important? For me, I think marriage is an important institution for my daughter and my kids. Do I think it's important for me? I'd like a partner. But I do believe, Dr. George Fraser said something to the ladies of my cohort last week. He said the differentiator for us in terms of building wealth as opposed to everyone else, when we look at the wealth gap, is because Black people are married at such a lower rate than everyone else. And so our overall household income is less than everybody else because we have these single parent households. So, we need it for generational wealth. And I'm all about closing the wealth gap. So, but for me, y'all, the jury is still out.
And Jade, is marriage an aspiration for you?
Period.
I can't hear you. I thought there was just silence. I was like, wait a minute.
Who said period?
Period.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Is marriage the goal? Is marriage an aspiration for you?
Yes, definitely. Marriage is definitely a goal. I've been married before. I will get married again. And marriage to me is a natural state of being. I mean, it makes me feel very comfortable because I grew up in a 2-parent household. My parents were married before I was born. I had the privilege of meeting and knowing and spending time with all of my grandparents. They were also married. My family's friends circles, they were married. So, it's just, I really like the structure. So yes, marriage is definitely a goal.
And as for me, it's 100%. It's where I currently am, and it's where I plan to stay forever and ever and ever. Amen. Fly Nubian family. But Queens, thank you so much for today's conversation and just all the honesty and input. Can you please let our amazing people know where to find you and follow you and how to support you as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, hey, y'all.
Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go. Hey, I'm Jade. I'm an educator. You can find me on social media platforms at Lioness Crowned. I also have a business where I coach aspiring activists and philanthropists that want to do work within the Black community. So go over to highblackesteem.com. That's highblackesteem.com. And we talk about having a healthy racial esteem, feeling really good about who we are as Black folks. And my big takeaway is, it's just a prayer for Teyana Taylor, her ex-husband, and their family, that they are able to prosper and heal and build some bridges moving forward. And listen, my word of advice to everyone: keep your personal business, relationship business off of social media. I'm not a fan of a lot of those relationship reality TV shows where, folks live out their marriages and relationships on reality TV. Oftentimes they don't work, but for some people it has worked, and shout out to them, more power to them. I think we get to be a bit more discreet about our business. So those are my main takeaways from this conversation, and thank you all for having me.
Constance?
Hey, listen, I enjoyed this conversation immensely today. So my takeaway is what Veronica said. Never be afraid to love again or get married. That is my big takeaway. And so I got to meditate on that and marinate on that because, it's just something that I'm still up in the air about. I need a little bit more therapy around that before I actually kind of can make that decision. But where can you find me? You can find me on I Am Constance Carter on Instagram, on Facebook, CC the CEO on YouTube. Now, if you guys don't know me, I'm Constance Carter. I'm a wealth activist. I built the largest Black-owned real estate firm in California, and most of the people who work for me were Black women. My goal has always been to help people. My goal has always been to help Black people build wealth, build their wealth portfolio through real estate and other investments. So today, what I do is I coach Black women from all over the country, from 20s to 80s, from people like me who have PhDs, public high school diplomas, to Harvard PhDs that have been in my coaching program. And so my goal is to really close the wealth gap. And so a lot of the things that I've been able to accomplish in terms of, investing in real estate and investing in stock, and I own a marijuana dispensary, and I have several best-selling books, and just all of the things. I just want to show Black people how to do it, specifically Black women, because there's an African proverb that says, if you teach a man, you teach an individual. When you teach a woman, you teach a nation. And so my contribution to closing the wealth gap is through Black women. It's a program I call the Net 7 Collective. And so that's what I do. And so if you want to learn anything about that, reach out to me, go to bookwithconstance.com, and I'd be happy to speak with you about, the possibilities.
Thank you so much, Constance. And Tiara.
Oh, this has been such a good conversation. But for the most part, I just want to make sure that I'm just saying, ladies, stay woke. Men, stay woke. People, stay woke. Make sure that you're vetting the people that you are with. Understand that the person, like Constance said, the person that you marry is not the person that you divorce. And just pay attention, because at any point, if you see a relationship starting to change in a way that you are not here for, you can get out. Like, you don't have to stay in a situation just for children, or just because you told God that you would, because I think God understands, right? Especially if it puts you in a dangerous situation. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood. That's MSBLACK Hollywood. I'm Miss Black Hollywood across all platforms. I have a company called The Real Network, REEL. I believe the baseline for all success is through storytelling. So I use that to help entrepreneurs level their business. So, if it doesn't matter what you do, how you communicate with your audience, how you communicate with your prospective clients, all of that is storytelling. So realvirtual.net is where you can find me.
And I think my takeaway is, do a SWOT analysis of your relationship. Me and my husband, we do this thing where every month we will sit down and speak through everything, where things are going right, things we need to work on, our strengths, our threats. I think a lot can be done through communication. And I also agree with Jade, money ain't always the best. Not all money is good money, and just really trying to figure out who it is that you are getting into bed with. You know what I mean? I am Linda E. I'm a presenter, model, and actress based in London, and it's just been so lovely having this conversation and interacting with everyone. You guys were going crazy in the comments, and don't forget, you have been watching Fly Nubian. This is Fly Nubian Money. You can head over to our website, flynubianmoney.com. We have a wealth of resources, courses, information. You can text 87948 with the word Queens to keep up to date with all things Fly Nubian. And we are also on Spotify now as well. And you can find us here every single day, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just, man, until next time, thank you so much.
Shout out
Bye.
to